as somebody whose job would be made a lot easier if she didn't have a couple of kids throwing her cell phone in the microwave. Diana, thank you for joining us. I was made angry on behalf of Shedeur Sanders that the anonymous quotes have begun like they do every year on these quarterbacks. If I give you the shocking prediction of Jackson Dart goes ahead of Shedeur Sanders, what are the percentages of chance you think that is?
Yeah, I think they're high. I think there's an 80% chance that happens. And look, those comments went out there, and it's part of the draft process. It happens every year. There's always a few players there that get snagged, and I'm sure you guys have had conversations about whether or not it's fair. There's anonymous stuff flying around, and look, I do it as well. I put out a column yesterday, basically all the intel I could possibly collect over the last 3 weeks as of yesterday, it was draft eve. Most of that info still stands today. But look, sometimes you just need to sort of get through the fat of the conversation and get to what people really believe and feel about these quarterbacks, specifically just knowing it is a weak class. Unfortunately, I believe some of this is really unfair. And I think it makes it really hard for Shedeur here, who at one point, I can tell you, he was the number one quarterback for the New York Giants. They had him graded number one. And that changed over the last few months, not because of the anonymous quotes, because of their own research, their own conversations that they had internally about whether or not he's a good fit. But yeah, it is that time of year where things are flying around. The quote that I had, that was my favorite was essentially about all of this as a whole, which is for fans specifically, just when you think that your team is smart, that you think that your team knows exactly what they need, you can never rule out that there are dumbass teams out there. Whether you believe it or not, they're just there. And owners have a big say on tonight's decision making.
Put it on the poll, Juju. Are there dumbass teams out there at Le Batard Show? I would say that we have some dumbass around here. We are at the draft, sort of, tonight in Tennessee, which isn't at the draft. I've seen these crazy people in Green Bay outdoors doing shows about transactions on ESPN. I've seen Mike Greenberg try to order an almond milk latte in Green Bay and have everyone laugh at him. Yeah. The thing that we're doing tonight is going to be Billy Gill and Walter Hawkins tonight at the draft in Tennessee, where it'll be Cam Ward, right? You're reporting that 2 through 4, they've all received offers. Browns, Giants, Patriots, 2 through 4. Teams are interested in moving up to a specific player, but number 1's decided, correct?
Yeah, they're not taking calls anymore. They made a decision as an organization pretty much weeks ago, but officially we'll just say this past week that they're going to go quarterback here. So Cam Ward has been graded as the number 1 quarterback for a lot of different teams outside of Tennessee as well. Although I will tell you, I did speak to one head coach who has Tyler Shuck out of Louisville ranked as the number 1 quarterback above Cam Ward.
Wow. Two Cristobal guys.
This was the same head coach who told me last year that Jaden Daniels was better than Caleb Williams, that they had him graded above. Look, I remember him telling me that last year and understanding why he was saying that. But if you remember, the push for Caleb being number 1 overall, it was absurd how many people were in on that and not saying anything else, not pointing to any other quarterback. So look, to this coach's defense, he was right on that for now. But yeah, I do think that's interesting that most teams do have Cam Ward. But Dan, to me, the story isn't 1, who cares? We kind of know it. It's who's 2, right? Because it's been all over the place as we're trying to figure out what the New York Giants are going to be doing. We know they're in at quarterback. What are they going to do at 3? At this point, I'm sensing that they're just going best player available, which I assume it to be Abdul Carter when they're on the clock.
Oh, I'm Mike Greenberg, and I'm in Wisconsin around all these hillbillies. They've never heard of alternative milks before. Ooh.
It is known for their dairy.
Disrespecting the local culture.
I do think that you offend Green Bay if you go cheese that's not dairy. Put it on the poll at Le Batard Show. Do you offend Green Bay if you go cheese that's not dairy?
So Diana, the Giants, Cleveland, Saints, and Steelers are the 4 teams that could draft a quarterback. Is there a mystery 5th team that you think could draft a quarterback in the first round?
No, I don't believe so. And even if there was a team that, let's just say, wanted to do it, I don't think this is the class for it, just because it is a weak quarterback class as a whole, and that's pretty much known.
So where did Dart and Sanders land?
I think Jackson Dart, if the New York Giants are able to either move up to go get him, or maybe perhaps they can just sit there in the second round and get him. I think there's enough smoke now in terms of who the Giants want as Jackson Dart being the guy. I do think Tyler Shuck is going to go in the top 40 here. I'm not sure which team is going to go with him. I just have heard enough from different coaches about how NFL ready he is. Yes, he's older, so I know
he's 26.
Yes, I know. I can't believe we're the same age. It's wild to think that that's the situation there, but that's not bad, because I've had this convo too with a lot of different teams of, well, what is the big deal that he's 26 years old? If he can play, you don't need to worry about that right now, especially if you're a team that's looking to win now. And there's coaches out there that like older quarterbacks, as we've seen over the years. So I just want to see which team it is that's gonna be in on him. The Shedeur Sanders.
He's past his prime as soon as his rookie contract is over.
Yeah, possibly, but Bo Nix is pretty old, and he had a good season. I think we could all agree Denver probably nailed that, and he's going to continue. Look, he's not 26, but look, it is funny to think like he could be the oldest quarterback in the quarterback room if he's taken and he's the rookie, depending on where he goes. But look, the overarching story over the quarterbacks, forget the rookies, it's Kirk Cousins. I'm watching that. I want to see if this happens, if they're going to trade him. Because look, I've heard a couple different versions of what Atlanta wants to do here. They don't want to take on his salary, but they're willing to give a little because they know they probably got to move him. Kirk has to remember he has a no trade clause. So if a team is interested in trading with Atlanta, Kirk is going to want to get involved here. So I do think if something happens, it's going to be later in the weekend. But that's definitely in play here. You've got the Cleveland Browns, the Pittsburgh Steelers, and perhaps the Minnesota Vikings poking around on that. So that's something I'm going to be watching over the next few days.
Diana, is Aaron Rodgers going to pull the move where he steals all the headlines today?
It's a good question. I haven't thought about it. You're probably right. Yeah, so I can just tell you the Pittsburgh Steelers haven't heard from him. So they don't really know what he's doing. They're just hoping that Aaron takes the time he needs, because it's obvious that he's got some personal stuff he's got to deal with. He shared that in his interview with Pat McAfee. So I think the Steelers are willing to give him that space. So I mean, unless that personal stuff, whatever he's going through, was addressed and fixed, and he feels ready. But yeah, I don't see it happening. It's Aaron Rodgers, and he does have a way of making news.
I think the story of the night could end up being Shedeur Sanders if he tumbles and keeps tumbling, partly because the fireworks from Deion Sanders are guaranteed. Where do you see Sanders going, Shedeur?
I don't know. I really don't know at this point, because I don't see a team. I haven't spoken to a team who has Shedeur Sanders as their top quarterback right now headed into tonight.
You rule him out for 15, though, for Pittsburgh, if he's still there?
I think Pittsburgh is trying to move out, but let's say that they can't. I don't know if he's their guy. I don't feel comfortable right now saying that he's their number one quarterback on their board and that they're going to grab him at that spot. They could do it, but I think there may be other quarterbacks that Pittsburgh's interested in.
Chances he is not a first-round draft
Greg,
pick
you're
tonight.
just mining for your own mock draft
That is
here.
so
You're not
clear.
just trying to collect information to form your own
Greg does
picks.
a mock draft?
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
he's
it's a
got
big deal.
9 exactos
Wow.
last year. Who's your number 2 pick today? Like, what do you have 1, 2, 3? Because it's clear that you're just totally delving into your own narcissism with your questions.
Like many mock drafts, my 1, 2, 3 are Ward Hunter and Abdul Carter. My mock draft was published 3 days ago, and I don't change it. So I am not doing this related to my mock draft. I'm doing this out of curiosity and because I respect Diana's opinion. I'm wondering what the chances you think are that Shedeur Sanders is going to not be a first-round pick tonight.
Yeah, I think it's a bold statement, but I would not be surprised if he falls to the second round. That would not surprise me.
Nate Tice has said Shedeur is more of a day 2 guy, a round 2 at best guy.
Yeah, that's fair. Look, this is one of these drafts where I feel like we can say two things of this and be like, yeah, that would make sense. I could see a team possibly grabbing him at the bottom of the first. I don't see him going in the top 10. No. But I could also see him falling there. It's somewhere at the top of the second round, for a team just looking to add for sure.
Tet McMillan, according to Mina Kimes, she says the Cowboys should take him if he's there at 12, but he says he doesn't watch football and doesn't like to study film. What do you do with that?
Yeah, I mean, he's at least being very honest. I don't have the Cowboys taking him there. I do believe from just having conversations that they are going to go offense. That is the position of need for them too. Obviously, when you take a look at their roster, look, I think the one part of this process that I enjoy is how hard these teams work to uncover as much intel as possible on these guys. And I love that he's just putting it out there. Like, yeah, I don't love football that much. Yeah, that's a red flag. That's probably not going to help your stock. I don't think that that's a type of turn that certain types of coaches are going to embrace. You can go around the league and we can rip through some, if you want, of teams that are in on wide receiver, and that's probably not going to match up very well. What do you make of it?
I'm looking up as you talk that Greg Cody has Shedeur Sanders going 9 to the Saints, and that doesn't feel like an exacto to me.
That pick is not aging well. Like I say, once I make my mock draft, and I don't do 9 mock drafts like Kuiper and some of these guys, throwing darts at the board for months so that you can say you were right, even though in your latest mock draft it didn't.
He has Dart at 21, by the way.
Dart at 21.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. I think that's fair. I think your Saints predictions bad.
Yeah.
The Saints aren't going quarterback.
I'm not defending it.
Why don't you change it?
Oh yeah. No, I didn't mean. I actually
break your rule.
I appreciate that you mocked. So Greg, just so you know, coaches and GMs, even owners, they read all the mocks. I haven't asked them if it was you. Like when they tell me they read the mocks, I always just assumed it's the McShays, it's the Kuipers, it's the Field Yates, Daniel Jeremiah. But I'm realizing that they may not know of yours, so I'm just gonna probably circle back with a few of them.
Who's the most respected mock, though? Like, if by consensus, if you had to take a vote, who's the mock? Who's the king of the mock-offs?
Yeah, outside Greg, probably Daniel Jeremiah. I think he's considered to be one of the best ones. Todd McShay does a really good job too. I did speak to a team who tracks the accuracy of the mockers.
Greg got 9 exactos last year. He beat Mel Kiper. Yeah. 9.
Right pick to right team.
Oh, so you guys track too?
Yeah.
Well, he does.
I do for me.
He does just for him.
Yeah.
He is pretty consistently maximum me.
I'm curious, Diana, why you don't do a mock draft, because everybody and his brother and sister do, and you know more than 99% of people out there. Why don't you do a mock draft?
Because I feel like if I say that this is what I believe a team is doing, the lunatics out there that don't understand that I'm just collecting information and making that prediction, they can't separate prediction with when I'm reporting truth. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to deal with that hassle because I deal with it every day. There is an audience out there of sports consumers who don't understand that agents lie, players lie, teams lie. Reporters are just trying to get the information and they're trying to be accurate about it. And it's such a hard place to navigate. So I made the decision to just step out of the mock game and just try to provide as much intel and allow you guys, and you specifically, Greg, to take that information and form your own thoughts and opinions and guesses on what these teams should do.
Fair.
Diana, I'm wondering if you could gather intel for us and reach out to some of your sources in the NFL and see how many of them have read Greg's mock draft and see what his influence really is like. It seems like information that you'd probably be able
Peter
to get pretty
Schrager had
easily.
more exactos than anyone last year. He had 12 exactos. He was the winner.
Wow.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Good for Peter.
Field Yates is really good too, I think. Field Yates.
Peter will tell you how good his was because he'll tell you
So
who
will
he
Greg.
spoke to too.
No, I will.
Peter will celebrate like Greg.
I will celebrate
so-
if I have a good mock draft. If I have a terrible mock draft, it'll be a little quiet in the
Quietly
aftermath.
slink off with
Yeah.
no mention of it.
Exactly.
Yes.
Look,
Right.
I think that's kind of what's fun about this time of year because, first of all the head coaches and general managers right now are so thirsty for information. So this is like the one time of year where they call me more than I have to call them. And then you have to weigh. And you guys will appreciate this. Like you'll be on the phone with a coach, let's just say that's picky at the bottom of the first round, and a GM from the top 5 will give you a call, and you're trying to wrap that call up and be respectful to the fact that this person's taking time to talk to you about what their team is doing. But I don't really care what you're doing at 26. I need to know what you're doing at 3. So you have to do this like polite of like, hey, I gotta go. Someone more important and picking higher than you is calling. This is the time where everyone is just, they love to talk. And especially today on actual draft night, they're all really bored right now. So the phones and the texts are all flying around because everyone's just got the nervous energy headed into tonight, but they've all made their decisions on what they're doing. They know the boards are set. So this is kind of the time of year I probably like the best. And also, I think there is a little bit of understanding that it's very, very difficult to nail down every single pick because teams do a really good job of setting out those smoke screens.
Last year, one of the big surprises was Michael Penix, I think. That was like sort of the story that resonated past the first round. And like, wow, what are the Falcons doing? That was so unexpected. Do you have any like unexpected things that you think could happen or predictions of something that could be a little crazy tonight?
Yeah, no, it's a good question because it is weird. This feels like a weird draft. And I say that because you're right. Like there's not, that one coach said there's no Robert De Niro's. He told me, he's like, there's no Robert De Niro's in this.
There's no Chalamets. I think
In
we
this-
could probably
Such an old
update the
coach.
reference.
Such an
Yeah, I love
old
that.
coach
Dan,
that
I'm
gave you
so
that.
glad you said this because I was on with Maggie Gray this morning and she was like, hey, I don't want to do the source off thing, but I'm so interested in who's told you that. Her guess was Nick Sirianni. And I loved her mindset on it. She's like, I can see him and Big Dom, and they're talking Goodfellas, and like, oh yeah. It's definitely a Robert De Niro MIA class.
Wow. I'm going older coach. It's got to be like Sean Payton or, Pete Carroll, somebody who, because Robert De Niro hadn't been the thing in Hollywood for 30 years.
It's a great observation by you because I thought the same thing when I wrote it down, and when the coach was saying it over the phone, I'm like, Robert didn't. Like I almost was like, wait, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? There's no, like, are we talking politics here? Like, where are we going with this? So yeah, we need to probably get a little bit of an update to some of these coaches and GMs on maybe the latest Oscar winners. That's what they should be doing so they can make these comparisons better. So yeah, I'm not expecting some wild thing in comparison to what Michael Penix to me is. It'll go down for me as one of my more memorable drafts. I think it was that big of a story. I am interested in the Jaguars. They are a team I just keep hearing are going to be electric, is what someone there told me. So I don't know. I can't define electric to you right now.
Put it on the poll. Have the Jags ever been electric at Le Batard Show?
Diana, are there any Adrian Brodies in this draft? And by that, I mean guy who's just going to get up there and piss us off.
Maybe I could see that happening just to keep it interesting. Look, this is one of these nights where as much homework as we're doing, as much and as prepared as teams can be, there's always something bizarre. Remember the COVID draft? Remember how weird that was?
It was great.
Yeah.
Trey Wingo
You like
killed
that?
it. Trey Wingo did one of the best hosting jobs I've ever seen. It was actually refreshing how good a piece of content that was during that time.
That was hard to pull off.
it was like very depressing. That's all I remember.
That was
from it.
Goodell in his basement in that chair, right?
Yeah.
And then they brought the chair to the draft the next year.
Yes.
I thought it was a nice little departure from that. Like, it wasn't trying to remind you too much, even though the situation. I thought it was like masterful television.
Diana,
I remember them going through test runs on it. Like they were nervous. Like they did rehearsals. Like, can we nail Zoom? Remember that was like such a concern. Like, can we get the
fans
shot up?
on Zoom was the thing I remember as terribly sad.
Wasn't
Like
Vrabel taking
100
a poop?
screens of Vrabel shitting.
Belichick's dog.
Yeah, Belichick's dog. That was
Nike.
a very memorable one.
What a time.
Diana, you mentioned on Scoop City last week about owners kind of making a mess of things on draft night, kind of taking control and meddling. Do you have like a great example of that?
I mean, I've been curious about that Atlanta situation last year. That seemed pretty bizarre, don't you think? They pay Kirk Cousins all this money, and then they make this random decision to just pick a quarterback. That felt weird to me. That doesn't seem like a Raheem Morris type of move.
Who's the owner most? I mean, Jerry Jones most would suspect, but who is the owner most likely to interfere tonight and just topple all of his people?
Going through, gosh, I miss Dan Snyder for this. That's a layup answer. Just going through this with the head coach recently, because I had a broader conversation of how many owners do you think are involved in the pick, directly involved. And this coach said 13 of 14. Wow. We actually went through every team in football, and that was the number he came to, because I would just name the team. He'd say, yep, nope. So if I say 13 of 14 owners are involved in tonight's, your reaction to that is what?
It's a lot.
What about the one that's sitting it out? What's his problem? His or her problem?
Deadbeat owner.
Seriously. If I own a team, I want my hands on it. Baby.
I would think that all of them treat it as a toy, and all of them love the idea of, overseeing a war room of generals and soldiers.
Well, you have it's there's like layers of it, or like levels of ownership prying, right? You've got the owner that will just sit there, and you can read his body language. You know what your boss wants. Right? You can tell just based on how they're reacting to things. You have those types. Then you have the, this is what I think we need to do. This is what I suggest. Or I'm hearing all of you. I appreciate all the information you've collected, recommendations. I think we need to do this. To me, I want to know if there could be a camera filming all of it tonight, I would love to see. I hate to put it back on them because they just exposed themselves last year. I would love the New York Giants. I want to see if John Mara's going, are you guys making a decision to throw a Hail Mary to save yourselves, or are you actually doing what's good for the future of the New York Giants? I would
my
love
vote
to see
would have
how this
been Woody
conversation-
Johnson's kids would have been my vote.
So, Diana, I want to start at the top of this draft because we all know Cam Ward's going first, but we don't know beyond that. And what I mean is great college career, set records in 1 year in Miami, but luckiest man on earth tonight because 1 year ago he might have been the fourth or fifth best quarterback.
Yeah.
So he's going to reap the reward
But Mike
of
Ryan's
that.
going to get emotional tonight. Mike Ryan, do you even remember seeing a University of Miami player with the number 1 pick?
No, Russell Maryland went in my lifetime, but I
Yeah,
don't have any memory
91,
of that.
yeah.
I think I'm going to get a little emotional. They're going to do the montage. I'm going to remember the moments, and it's not often that you see something that you've never seen before. And I've never seen a Miami guy, which is a pretty prestigious program, go number 1, especially not a quarterback. It's going to be pretty cool.
It's a big deal, but my question for Diana is, how good is Cam Ward really? What do you see the ceiling and floor on his career?
She's very busy multitasking.
No, I
She's
know.
very
She's-
busy gathering information
Yeah.
and giving
Are
information.
you fighting with George Kittle?
The
No,
Giants
rather.
just traded out of the first round. No, I'm kidding.
I got you there, Diana. I used to be a George Kittle guy until I saw him go at you, and now I'm very confused.
Thank you, Mike Ryan. Yes, I reported yesterday that George Kittle wants to be the highest paid tight end in football, which
Wow.
I think that's fair. I
Good
think
luck.
I get it. I think we all get that, right?
No, I understand. Diana, how good
She's
is
talking. You were being
Oh, my
talked to
God.
privately there, Greg. She was, and Mike Ryan wasn't
All-
talking on air. There.
All that happened was you cut her off.
That's
and it
all
appeared
that
rude.
happened in the middle of the answer. You're
awesome.
confused by the show that we're doing.
Wait, so Mike, would you like?
I would
Mike,
love
you
to
want me
hear your
finish, or
answer. I'm sorry, Greg.
We
was so
all
rude.
would, actually, except for Greg.
Okay, so Arizona paid Trey McBride recently. We'll just say roughly $19 million a year, just a couple weeks ago. So you're George Kittle, your contract's up, you want a new deal, you're going, hey, I should probably be paid more than Trey McBride. So OTAs started, and it's important to note that George usually doesn't attend OTAs. But from the team's perspective, from what I can gather, they didn't know what he was going to do. And when he didn't show up, they realized that has to do with the negotiations. That has to do with the contract. So when Kittle responded, which by the way, I love George Kittle. We get along great. I've covered him for years. We have a good reporter-player relationship. When he tweeted at me that my sources were wrong, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. Because I think sometimes what happens in these negotiations, once you publicly say you want to be the highest paid, or at least it's reported that's what you're looking for, and that conversation was already had with the team, and then you don't get it's kind of hard to recover from that. So I think players, they don't like to have that out there. Because then if they cave, they don't want to cave publicly. They kind of want to just cave privately. I remember a few years ago when I reported Aaron Rodgers wanted to make $50 million a year. And he went on Pat McAfee and he's like, this girl doesn't know what she's talking about. That is not true. This is all lies. Journalists are terrible. She's dumb. Whatever he said. Guess who signed for $50 million 2 weeks later? Right? So some of it's just not a good locker room look.
How often do you get shaky on that stuff, Diana? Because I've seen your confidence grow over the years. I would imagine credibility stuff is wildly important to you. When did you get confident enough that a firm, loud, angry denial in public didn't shake you on your information?
Because it doesn't matter if it's someone loud or someone quiet, saying I'm wrong. To me, I've consistently proven that my information is right. And it always goes back to where you're getting your information from. The firmer you can be, I have found over the years, the stronger the sources, right? Like if I was getting it from an agent they're known to lie, or, a friend, I'm not going hard with that. As you build your network of people over the years and the reliable ones, you can hammer hard. And that's why I'm able to go and say, hey, Aaron, no, that's what you want. And that's what he got, because that's the truth, right? George Kittle wants to be the highest paid tight end. I'm not saying it and going against him even after he tweeted me if I didn't have this very, very, but very well-informed people. But it does stink, because I do think fans want to believe the players all the time. And I get it. It's okay. Like I'm not trying to cause the drama. It's just the truth is the truth.
Is Ashton Jeanty the best running back prospect since Saquon Barkley, and where do you and Greg Cody have him going?
Ooh, for right now, I think he's going to wind up with the Jags, and I do think he's the best running back we've seen since Saquon Barkley. I don't think he is Saquon Barkley. I don't think he's better than Saquon Barkley. I think he's the best running back in this class for sure. I did have a talent evaluator share with me that you just have to always keep in mind the weaknesses of these classes, right? So sometimes these players are going higher than they would in any other class. As we've been talking, I feel like pretty much this whole conversation of this just is not a strong, talented class. So I think Jeanty is a team to keep an eye on. I think the Raiders are a team to keep an eye on for him.
That's what Cody has. Cody has him going number 6 to the Raiders.
Yeah, I also think if he falls to 12, I think Dallas would love him.
I like the Raiders' prediction there. If the Raiders don't go running back, I could see them going offensive line. I know they've had some pretty serious conversations there about what they want to do. And there's been a lot of back and forth on if they're going to go running back or O-line. So I think if Jeanty's there, the chances of them probably going with him are probably pretty good. I did have a team text me this morning, and I thought it was a joke at first, but they asked me, have you heard if the Giants were taking Jeanty at 3?
Wow.
I just, that's not happening. The fact that someone even asked about it, I thought was bizarre.
Why would the Panthers text you that?
I've got a couple of questions here before we get you out. Did you see the movie Draft Day 2014? Kevin Costner. It was truly terrible. Mike Ryan loved it. Did you see the movie Draft Day?
I have not.
Okay, so I will now quiz Zaslow and Mike Ryan, who have seen the movie Draft Day, to see how good their memory is from 10 years ago. Yes or no, gentlemen? Mel Kiper was in that movie. Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Bill Belichick, yes or no?
No.
No.
Mike Florio, yes or no?
No.
No.
He is in the
Zaz
movie.
is taking that ass, by the way.
Jerry Jones, yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
He is not in the movie.
Oh.
John Gruden, yes or no?
Yes.
No.
He is in the movie. Roger Goodell, yes or
Yes.
no?
Yes.
Deion Sanders, yes or no?
No.
Yeah. No.
He is in the movie.
What
I wasn't
what
sure.
are
That's
you
why I
doing
hesitated.
there?
Did you guys watch the movie?
I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
Did he?
Like
Yes.
15 years ago.
Yes.
Was Diddy in
Yes.
the movie? Not
No.
Diddy.
Did he or didn't he?
He was?
Not Diddy.
He's the agent to the quarterback.
He did.
Diddy was in the movie.
That's regrettable.
I have not seen, Diana, your mother's character in a while around here. Your mother was hassling you a lot when you would impersonate her about being single and dating. Has she stopped all of that now that you are a happily married mother with children? I have not.
You're right.
I have not seen your or heard from your mother in a while, or the impersonation of your mother.
Yeah, I actually did it recently because they took a trip to Florida. My parents don't like to leave their house ever unless it's to help me out with the kids and my siblings with their kids. They're just homebodies, but yet they wonder why they're depressed and are cold all the time because it's freezing in New Jersey and the winter's been long. But they finally were able to get to Florida. And I thought it would be nice to upgrade my mom and dad as just like a gift. They've never flown first class. They're 70 years old. And the text my mom was sending from when she got on the plane, you just can't make this up. I mean, she's like, going through it all because again, the experience is very different. If you've never done it, it's a wonderful experience if you don't know. So she's like, Diana, they're giving me champagne. I think they think I'm the queen. They gave me a blanket. Your father gave me his too. It's cold, but this is really wonderful. Just the whole thing. And by the way, she got to Florida and all they did was complain about Florida the whole time anyway. So she's the same. So the latest issue she has with me, Dan, is I'm not doing a good enough job mothering because of the draft. So she's been at the house a lot and she sees me on the phone. And so, the Italian Catholic guilt is on full throttle right now that I'm messing Mikey and Joey up. Because when I'm pushing the swing, I have the phone in my left hand. I'm usually on speakerphone or I'm texting, and she thinks that that's going to affect them later in life because they're always going to remember I only had one hand on the swing instead of two, like all the other mothers I went to school with.
Diana, is your mother Marissa Tomei?
Sounds a lot like her. Can you give us the impersonation of hearing her while you're doing your job? Can we hear what your soundtrack is? You're swinging the swing set. You're clearly talking to Doug Peterson, and you are not mothering the way you should.
God, I hope I'm not talking to. I would love to talk to Doug Peterson, but Doug's not going to help me right now.
All right, you're talking to Ken Wisenhut.
So she's queen of this. There's like a very universal language in my house. Like the phone's on my ear. It's probably business. Like I'm not just on the phone with Cassidy Hubbarth, right? Like we're busy. So she'll go, Diana, the boys are hungry. Does Joey want a hot dog? Oh yeah, you're on the phone. Who are you on the phone with? Who are you talking? Are you done? Do you want me to do the hot dog? Mom, just give me this breaking news. What happened? What happened? Should I tell your father? Are you on the fan? Are you on the fan right now? Did Mike Greenberg call you yet? Are you ever going to go back to ESPN? People think it's so weird you're a writer now. All those years on TV? All those years? And now you write? Who reads that? Why did you take a job at The Atlantic? Mom, I work at The Athletic. What? You're on YouTube? Daddy says you're doing a live show on the draft. Is it Channel 7? You know those girls on Eyewitness News? They look good. They're mothers. They look good, though.
It's nice seeing you, Diana. It's a crazy day for you. Is this the craziest day? Like, number one, Diana Russini, crazy day in football is blank.
Free agency. This is fun. This is great. You can't do anything here. We're just collecting information, talking about it, gossiping all day. Free agency is way harder and crazier.
Nice to see you. As always, enjoy the day.
I like your shirt.
Thanks. I love you guys. I missed you.
Bye.
You're talking to me, right, Jess?
Yes.